Hello and welcome to the maintainer track for SIG contributor experience of the Kubernetes project. We have our session with the not inflated title contributing to Kubernetes in the age of AI. And all of us are either tech chairs or either tech leads or chairs of SIG ContribEx. I'm Mario, I'm ContribEx chair, and I'm from Germany.
Hi everyone, I'm Priyanka. I work at SUSE and I'm one of the technical leads for SIG ContribEx.
And I'm Kaslin Fields. I am a co-chair here at SIG Contributor Experience. I'm also a developer relations engineer at Google.
I'm Madhav. I'm one of the technical leads. As you can see, we have a lot of technical leads and chairs. Maybe one of you can join us up here the next time around.
Hi, I'm Nabarun. I work at Broadcom, and I'm also one of the co-chairs of SIG ContribEx.
Okay, so before we get into the AI of our talk, we want to do the routine. We want to talk about what SIG ContribEx is, how we do our, how we run the SIG, what kind of sub-projects and parts we have. Starting with code of conduct, this session, as every other meeting in the Kubernetes community follows code of conduct, pretty much comes down to please be nice and excellent to each other. If you want to read more, please scan the code. This is a photo of our community. This is some photo we have, I think, one of the last contributor summit and its contributor summit variations we have. We should maybe update it like this with the... Yeah, I feel like we had another version of this, the newer version of this maintainer summit, which happened 2 days back. Yeah. These are the community statistics as of July 15, 2025. As of today, I think we are already maybe approaching 100K contributors with maybe about 4.7 million contributions, and we still have a low number on reviewer side. We are maybe touching 8.5K reviewers. So this is how big our community is today. And this SIG is responsible for doing its part, helping the community running our day-to-day work with infrastructure and other processes. We also want to introduce about the contributor ladder. Anybody who is here listening to this talk, if you want to get started, you start from the bottom. Start with as a non-member contributor, meaning you do not have to be a member of anything Kubernetes. You can just get started and then make your way up as a member first, and however you want, become a reviewer, become an approver, or choose your own path. There are like multiple branches that go into these roles, but essentially you move up the ladder like this. And just before this session, we had the steering session that actually sits at the top. So after sub-project lead, if we have to put a hierarchy, steering committee comes at the top. So what does ContribEx actually do? We develop and we help to develop and have a sustainable, healthy community of contributors, because that is what is critical to this community. And because of the sheer amount of, the sheer growth of the community we are having, this is a very, very, very important piece, component of the community we have. So ContribEx does a lot of like the chop wood, carry water, behind the scenes work. And how do we do that? Through our sub-projects. So I'll not go through all of this because you have a bunch of content that will like touch upon this, but these are our projects: community management, documentation, dev stats, elections. We are going to talk about this in a bit. Events, GitHub management. Events is what that photo was about. ContribEx helps run contributor summits. Earlier, now also helps with the maintainer summit from the Kubernetes side of things. GitHub management, all the org membership thing we are talking about is also taken care by SIG ContribEx. Mentoring is one of the sub-projects. If you want to get started, get involved in SIG ContribEx, please talk to any one of us. We can help you get more insights on where exactly help is needed, but this is one of the sub-projects where we definitely need help. And then ContribEx helps, like I said, run the infrastructure. One of the infrastructure is Slack, which is, I think, one of the biggest Slack infrastructure that Slack itself has. So we are responsible for helping running that as well. And finally, contributor comms, which Kaslin is going to talk very much in detail. That is one of the sub-projects. If you want to get started, please come and join. That's one of the most, like I can say that with a stamp on, that's one of the most welcoming areas for anybody who wants to get started in the project. With that, we also want to share some updates that from our last 6 months or 1 year time frame.
Yeah. So a few of the activities that we keep doing like every year, at least we try to do it every year, is like cleaning up the Kubernetes GitHub orgs. There's a huge importance of being one of the being a member of one of the Kubernetes GitHub orgs is that you get to run CI against your pull requests. And although it might sound very trivial, but we have limited infrastructure resources. And if we let anyone and everyone run CI on their PRs, that's going to be an issue because with advent in technology, like advancement in technology, we see a lot of spam, we see a lot of bot PRs, and that will easily exhaust our resources and create a lot of spam. So it might sound harmless, but it consumes a lot of infra resources. So we try to do cleanups every year, and we did a cleanup this year as well in June. We removed almost like 400 inactive members out of 1,500 members across the GitHub orgs that we control. In the past years, we did like, last year we removed like 600 members. We cleaned up 600 inactive people. And do bear in mind that the bar to activity in this case is like at least one contribution to any of the GitHub orgs, or being active in non-code areas by attending meetings, or there are a lot of project management like roles across the community. So we do include those activities as well.
I also want to quickly give a update, very recent update, as of I think like a week or so. We had our Kubernetes Steering Committee elections for the 2025 cycle. We have one of the re-elected members in the new steering committee here, Mache. There were 4 seats open. The new steering committee, it's a committee of 7 members. This cycle we had 4 seats open. The new people who are joining are Mache, Rita, Paco, Kat, Koskaro. So a big round of applause for all of them. It's a big responsibility. And I also want to thank our 3 EOs, Christoph, Sriram, Nina, and Aruchwal and Ray Lehano. Those were the people who were on the election EO election officers who actually helped us run the elections very successfully. So thank you to them as well. With that, in this cycle, we had about 653 eligible voters. There is a criteria for being an eligible voter, which is almost 50 contributions. If you had in the last year, you are eligible to vote. 210 people voted, so it's about a 32% turnout. And results, as I already mentioned, we had 4 seats open, and all 4 were filled with 2 returning and 2 new members. So there is also a retro plan if you're interested in maybe learning more about, or maybe want to run similar elections for your own communities. Do join. I think it's in the week of November 18, but more comms are supposed to follow on the channels of ContribEx. Yeah. With that, I'll hand over to Kaslin.
All right, and I'm going to talk a little bit about, did you want to say a little bit more about the elections? I could also talk about this.
We just spoke about this, yeah. Again, these are the contributors explicitly called out. So if you see them around, say thank you, say hi, ask them about what it takes to get involved. So yeah.
Yeah, and something that I always tell folks in new contributor orientation, which I'm going to tell you about here in a moment, about the steering committee, is that this is an elected body. So it's not on the contributor ladder, because you can actually go for steering at any point in the ladder. Just you would have to get elected, and that would mean people knowing what you do. And so you have a better chance when you're higher up the ladder, because you've probably been working with more people for a longer amount of time. So it's kind of the top of the ladder, but also kind of not. And if you'd like to help out with the elections subproject, we do need some more help there. So make sure you reach out to us in SIG ContribEx or SIG ContribEx elections in Slack. So let's talk a little bit about new contributors. Last year, we had a few newer contributors who were very excited about the idea of helping other people start contributing, because they were having such a wonderful time in the project, which is what we love to hear. And so we came up with this new contributor orientation initiative. At various points in Kubernetes maturity, we've had different ways that we help new contributors get involved with the community. When you're small, it's a lot easier to just have new contributors show up and you just kind of get them going. But with a project this large, there's always more people who want to contribute, and figuring out pathways for them to find things that they're actually interested in when you have such a broad scope can be really difficult. So the purpose of new contributor orientation, these are meetings that we run once a month, every third Tuesday. And the purpose is to orient new contributors within the community. So that means showing them the contributor ladder, explaining what the CNCF is, explaining a little bit about what Kubernetes does as a technology, telling them about the different special interest groups within the project so that they can get an idea of, if this is what you want out of the project, here's where you might find it. So we do that once a month, every month. We put the recordings on YouTube. Join us sometime. If you have any questions about the community, we're always happy to talk with you there. And we wanted to talk a little bit about how it's going. Mario, do you want to speak to this slide?
So we are now running new contributor orientation for roughly 1 year. And as you can see, when we ran it the first time, the turnover was great. We did a lot of social media, we did a lot of advertisement, we basically said, we are doing this now, and this is a thing now, this is going to be happening every month, and we had a lot of people joining this. And then we forgot social media. And you can see how bad we forgot social media, because when you see like this 5 people or 7 people in those sessions, that was just like, we didn't do any social media whatsoever. And if you don't tell anyone that, hey, we're doing a session, how to contribute to Kubernetes, nobody's going to join. Because how would they know? Because it's also inside of the Kubernetes calendar, and the problem in the Kubernetes calendar is you need to subscribe to it, it's not obvious, it's a little bit hidden, and it's not like something that it's easy to go by. We are working on this, so this will be easier in the future, and we are also working on the social media thing. When you look at August 25, you see that the APAC meeting was actually well visited. And the funny thing was that I ran the APAC meeting and the EMEA meeting, friendly one, and I told Kaslin, hey, I'm out when and on the day that it's usually happening, so I will do it 1 week later, and I basically blasted everything on social media, and oh look, more people joined. What a surprise.
Also, it's the month that KubeCon India happened.
Also, it was the month that KubeCon India happened. Yeah, that's true. I also give you that. And but the positive thing is, we are doing this on a regular basis. We got actually people now running this inside of the community, which is no longer Kaslin or me. So we basically we made ourselves obsolete, which is the goal of this, that you give away jobs to people who can do this probably better than you. And we also have a lot of people that actually joined the community. So we have one person, for example, and I want to give a huge shout out to him, it's Sayak. He's basically, we recruited him here in this NCO meeting. He joined the first one. He got into, hey, I know Doxy. he started rewriting and updating the Kubernetes IO website because we haven't updated Kubernetes IO since ever. And then now we are moving, and now he is updating Kubernetes.dev, which is the contributor resources. And he got an award. He got one award from us, from ContribEx, and he also got an award from SIGDocs. So basically, yes, this is successful. So new contributor orientation works. We just need to work on our social media game.
And we also had another success with elections. We managed to recruit someone who was familiar with, was it Python? Yeah, to help us with the tool that we use to run elections. And he's been doing great too. Cool. So that's a little bit about new contributor orientation. We also wanted to mention social media. We had a talk earlier today where we talked a little bit about social media. We told some stories about how social media has gone horribly wrong. We didn't tell this one, actually. We told a different one. But you got another one here. And we have a bunch of stats about how social media is going. You can see on this page, I think we grabbed this a few weeks before the conference. We have a total audience on our social media accounts of over 348,000. And this is just stats from a week. In 1 week, we got 52,000 impressions. That means people seeing our posts, and over 1,000 engagements. You can see the bumps very clearly align with things that are happening in the community. I didn't look up to see what these ones were. They might have been the election, release things that are happening, cause bumps. Last week in Kubernetes development causes visible bumps when that newsletter that we run comes out. So you can definitely map them just by seeing what the date is. And I also included this kind of overall social media at a glance slide. So we have 6 accounts across 4 different platforms. We have 2 on X, 1 targeted at end users and 1 targeted at contributors. Same on Blue Sky. Then we have LinkedIn and we have Mastodon. And something that is not clear on this slide, but on the slides for the other talk, if you want to check them out. We talk about how LinkedIn is growing like crazy. At the beginning of last year, we had 2,000 followers on LinkedIn. We weren't using it. We took it over in about May of last year, and now it has 17,000 followers. So that's a 700x increase over the last 2 years. Whereas all of our other accounts, they are growing, but much, much more slowly. So LinkedIn is just crazy. And Blue Sky has kind of dropped off a cliff, by the way. It's gained 1/10 of the number of new followers in the last 6 months as compared to the previous 6 months. And here's, again, those overall stats, 348,000 total audience. And this is total impressions over the course of a whole year. We get about 2 million people looking at our posts, and a total engagement of about 55,000. That's people liking, commenting, reposting, whatever they may want to do. So check into a comms meeting some Friday. We run them every Friday at 8 a.m. Or check out the slides or recording of our last talk if you want to learn more about comms and social media, or ask us questions here. Happy to show more.
Okay, so before we move on to, we'll talk about 2 things related to AI. The first thing would be, what are the ongoing efforts in this space? And then the second thing is, how does ContribEx sort of factor into this sort of thing? But before we go into that, there are a couple of things that I do want to reinforce. We spoke a lot about, we did the org cleanups, we did the steering committee elections, we did the NCO. This might seem like a long-lived effort, which you might have to be a part of to get involved, but that's not necessarily true. I'm also the result of a new contributor workshop. It was a different flavor back then. And the other thing is, we also have a new GitHub admin now. And he sort of rose the ladder by helping with org and the week-to-week around org management in general. So anything at all that any of it sounds even remotely intriguing, just like find us after the talk and ask us about it, right? Okay, so coming back to the first tenet of this, which is what are the AI-related efforts that are ongoing. So you might have already seen most of these things spread across KubeCon, past KubeCons, maybe in the keynotes a little bit today. So if you don't already know, Kubernetes has a few of these groups. We have some of the newer ones, which are WGAI conformance. You might have seen Mario on stage for that. You have WGAI gateway, there's serving, there's device management, there's batch. There's probably many more that might happen, because usually after a KubeCon, there's an email thread that starts, what proposing a working group, and we don't know what's going to come out of it. But many more might happen. But as a TLDR, this is what we have as of today. All of them have maintainer track sessions that have already happened or are going to happen, so check them out. And the other flip side of it is, how does the Kubernetes project use AI itself? There are a couple of things that Mario and I will talk about in this space. The first aspect of it is tools for improving the experience of a contributor in general. Now, it's not a surprise that contributors will use LLM-based tools at some point. However, there needs to be a policy and some structure around this. This is a very active area of discussion as of today. So if this is something that you feel strongly about or you have opinions about, you should definitely go and voice them, because this is when you can help shape what gets done in the project. We do have some initial language around this, thanks to Patrick, who's also here. So we do have some initial language around what PRs that may have been generated using some of these tools, or in general, large dev PRs might look like. The current expectation is that all of the responsibility is understandably with the contributor itself, but this language is something that you can use if you are someone who's a reviewer, to then direct the PR in the right direction in case there's this misuse of such tools. Right, so check that out, check that PR out, check out the ongoing discussion on that issue as well. The issue is closed now, but it has some important historical context. Now, Mario.
And there's also a little bit of backstory to this whole AI usage and open source and discussion, and there are a lot of feelings in this whole discussion as well. So I can remember there was the 10-year anniversary last year of Kubernetes, and you would think like, oh, this is ages ago, and there was a new contributor. The contributor wrote a blog post, submitted it, and it got merged. It got published to the website, and then someone run it through an AI detector, because when I look at the output from a Gen AI point of view last year to this year, it's not comparable whatsoever. And basically, it was detectable that the whole article was written by AI. It was completely AI generated, and it was published on the blog. And this was an issue, because we never had encountered any Gen AI content that happened inside of the project and was basically published to the outside world. And this also holds a lot of implications, because we don't know when we publish as a project Gen AI content, are we violating any rights from someone, because we don't know which model was used, what happened. It's like this whole black box. And then there was this discussion started, okay, what is now happening to docs? People would start probably generating content in docs. So we basically talked to ContribEx, approached SIG docs, and we sat together and it's like, we need a policy for AI-generated content that we publish on social media, because, yeah, also social media posts, like, this is something that you would also use Gen AI for sometimes. And we also need something for our blog. We need something for our ContribEx website. And then basically we looked at Linux Foundation. What are the guidelines from Linux Foundation for Gen AI? And there was like, yeah, do whatever. And then we said, okay, hey steering, what is the take on Gen AI? And admittedly last year it was a whole different position, and steering said like, yeah, please SIGs, look at it for your perspective, because you are the field of experts and you are next to the discussion of using Gen AI tools. Does it make sense? That doesn't make sense. And the funny thing is, we talked for half a year between SIG ContribEx and SIG docs because both are blocks, and we wanted to have like a unified view on this. And we said like, okay, we bring up a rule set for GenAI tools, and we want to have it fixed now, and we want now to have it written that we don't support GenAI tools only for like correction, or if you're not a native English speaker, to improve the output. And given, I think we never merged the rule set, so we never got to the point that we say, now these are the rules for ContribEx or for docs. And given the point that we are now in, I would also completely revisit our decision and our rule set that we created there, because the world and the usage and the acceptance of AI usage changed so much. But there's one thing where ContribEx and docs said, this is something that does not change. And this is basically the reviewing part and the awareness part. When you open this, when you commit this to the community, must be, and that's also attributing to this issue that you see there, you need to define, yes, we used an GenAI tool in creating this bit of code, this bit of content, so that we can recognize it in the history, like, yes, GenAI was used on this, and we need to take into account that there might be something that causes us issues in the future. And the other thing is, the review must be by a human being, because it must be a separate pair of eyes or multiple eyes to basically review this stuff. We generally don't want to completely ban AI tools, but it is still something that it's slowly creeping into our ecosystem, and we need to deal with this. And actually there was, on the Maintainer Summit, the question was brought up again to steering, like, do we want to revisit the statement of every SIG chooses it? And I really love that steering acknowledged that maybe the change in 1 year is so big that we now need to revisit the statement so that we have a general guideline and ruling for the whole project and not for each SIG, because this makes everything more complicated if it's separated. Because the LFX GenAI thing still tells you, yeah, do whatever. So we need to deal with this as a project. And there's a chance to get the usage out of AI tools, but also there's a risk to the project that we always need to take into consideration. And to coming to an end, you can find us in the community Git. You can find us in SIG ContribEx in the Slack. You can basically ping us there. You can just raise your hand and say like, hi. There's also a Slack channel for comms, which is just SIG -ContribEx -comms. If you're interested in social media and social media posting for open source project, we are all here to help you, because basically that's the job of ContribEx, enabling new contributors to get into the project. Join our new contributor orientation meeting. That sounds like a German word when you just put it together. And we are here to help you to start in open source. And as you have seen the past 2 years, what Nabarun showed us, we are losing contributors, and we still need people to work on Kubernetes. Yes, it's a graduate project. Yes, it's a huge beast, I would say, and it's complicated, but we need everyone to contribute to this and help us build it and make it more stable, especially after what you heard today, the announcement of Kubernetes AI conformance, which will basically say like, yeah, we are now the underlying infrastructure for anything AI related. Thank you for being here. Enjoy your KubeCon. And
actually, I want to add one more thing. If you want to see where all the AI work is happening, we maybe did not mention, please go to K community. just open the sigs.yaml and look for everything AI, because there are a bunch of working groups that have come up like in last 6 months. One of them is chaired by Mario himself. And if you, like, those are some that you will directly know, okay, these are AI stuff. But there are, I think, other working groups as well, like working group device management for actually running, like, using devices which are going to help you run your AI LLM workload. Look for those. There is also a whole lot of work happening in the network area to start using AI. One last thing, if you're not like, don't have any ideas or don't have expertise to directly contribute to AI areas technically, but maybe you are using AI in your day-to-day and you think this is going to help contributors, maintainers, or anybody in the community, there is a discussion going on in SIG architecture just to collect ideas for making tools, maintainer tools, or tools that are going to help maintainers, contributor, and anybody in general. Do contribute those ideas, please. That is going to help us understand how we want to start using AI and make it useful for us, for actually like make it useful for our day-to-day job, or maybe make tools out of them. And then if you can't do it, you can maybe take somebody's help in the community and get started from there. So if you want links on any of that, please, please, please ping us. You can reach out to us in SIG ContribEx or here. And one last thing, NCO is there, but we also have bi-weekly meetings. One of them is run by Mario and Kaslin. Another one is run by me and Nabarun. Madhav as well in US time zone. So please, if you can't make any of the NCOs, if it does not work with your time, you can jump on any of those bi-weekly calls and ask any of these questions or details there. Yeah, with that.
And we are over time, and you will now follow us all to the project pavilion where we do crash loop back off. I will do crash loop back off, and Kaslin will roast me while I do it.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.